Hi guys, welcome back to the home and homestead. Today we'll be doing a midsummer garden and yard tour. So we'll be going through and taking a tour of our vegetable garden, as well as some various fruits and vegetables and flowers that we have planted around the yard. So if you watch the planting of the vegetable garden, as well as the 1 month update, what you'll see today will be quite different already as we enter into the midsummer month time. So here is the vegetable garden. And already I have harvested the sugar daddy peas once, and I nearly filled this basket full of them. And they're still going, they're still very healthy looking, and some of them are still bearing some peas. So I'll probably go through today and harvest a few that we come upon. So let's look a little closer. So here's the dill. This is the mammoth dill. It'll keep growing. It'll probably at least double, if not triple, in size of what it is now. And here are some of the heads that they produce. Here are our tomatoes, our super sweet 100s. There's quite a few little green tomatoes on all of these plants here. And we've been just picking them as they've reddened and just eating them, as we pick them. Here are a couple that are ready to pick. Let me grab those quick. Here as well. But see, they grow in these nice big clusters. So when they're all ready to go, you can usually pick a couple off, and eventually the whole cluster will be nice and red, and they're very sweet. Here's some more on the other side. See, a nice big cluster of tomatoes is how they grow. So if you haven't tried these yet, I would recommend this variety. It's quite fun to grow and quite delicious. Here we have some of the Romas. We got a bunch of green tomatoes starting on both sides. And the green beans really taken to this fencing on the side here. They've grown just as we wanted, climbing up onto the fencing. Some of them went on a little road trip here and are wrapped around the tomato cages, but that's okay. They're not bothering the tomato plants, so that's perfectly fine. And actually they went back to the fence too. So here we have some Wisconsin 55s, and there are some nice green tomatoes on both sides. I've been harvesting these sweet heat peppers quite a bit already. If you watched the video on raspberry sweet heat jam, these are the peppers that I used in that recipe. And as they get a little bigger, I just pick them so they'll keep producing. Here are the habaneros. Still some more flowers, and we have some peppers starting here, but they're just not ripened quite yet. We'll let them keep ripening and till they get to the nice hot pepper. And serranos, those have been really prolific this year. They grow really nicely and have a nice yield, we've found. Let's see if I can harvest a few more today. They make a smaller leaf and then these smaller little peppers, and they're really good. Again, if you watch the strawberry serrano pepper jam, these are the plants that I harvested to get the peppers for that recipe as well. So I'm going to harvest some of these serranos. This plant right here has quite a few that are ready. Here are the serranos that I harvested from that plant. We're off to the bell peppers here. We got some little bell peppers started, so they'll get nice and big. Each plant has some going already here on both sides. These are some jalapenos. They're not quite ready yet, some of them. Over here, this one's pretty good. Yeah. Got a couple off of there. Oh, here's another one. Oh, another one. I like to hide behind the leaves. We got quite a few more on there that are growing. Let's see this plant. That one's pretty good. They keep flowering, so that's good. Ooh, there's a nice one. Let's see if we can find some more. Yep, good. The jalapenos are starting now. Starting to be ready. And here we have the Super Banana Supreme. And there's a really big one on here. I don't know how I missed this one. There's another one. This plant has a bunch of them too. They need to get a little bigger. And these pepperoncinis. I've already been doing some small batch canning of peppers and pickles. We'll get to those next. Let's see. Yep. Peppers just need to get a little bigger and ripen a little more. So now we'll move on to the zucchinis. These have been doing very well, especially this variety in the arch trellises here. That's the Ford Hook zucchini. These have been the first to ripen, and I've harvested already and preserved 9 2-cup bags of shredded zucchini. And I have, I think, 4 or 5 zucchinis in the cold storage ready and waiting for what I want to do with them. See a zucchini in there. I'll let that one get a little bigger. Oh, here's a nice big one. Usually get them a little bit before this stage, but that one was hiding on me too. And that is, I believe, an aristocrat zucchini. It's a different variety. Yeah, that was an aristocrat. And those have been doing pretty well on this vertical trellis I set up. I planted them on both sides there. So that one's starting to produce and mature enough to harvest. So watch it in the next few weeks. I'll be starting a series on what to do with all that zucchini. So when I get some more in cold storage and harvested, we'll do some tried and true recipes as well as some basic preserving tips on them, and we can try out some new recipes together as well. Now let's go check out the cucumbers. Okay, so here are the cucumbers. The pickle cucumbers here, if you watch the video on how to plant the vegetable garden, you know which ones were from seed and which ones were plants. But these were the true pickle cucumbers, and we've been harvesting them quite a bit. And when I was kind of briefly looking through here, there's some more that could be harvested, and that's what I've already pickled and canned. Probably 3 or 4 jars, and I have enough to do another batch again, just for small pickling batches. So let's take a look in here a little closer. So these grow little pickles. So if you want the little baby gherkins, you can pick them at that stage. I like them to ripen a little bit bigger than that. Let's see. Yep, here's one. So these I can whole, and then once the slicers, which are planted all along the back here, once those start producing and are harvested, then I'll do those and I'll slice and pickle those for hamburgers and sandwiches and things like that. There's another one. What's this one? This one's pretty big for a pickle. It was kind of fun to have a little bit bigger pickles, and then I put them in a nice big jar. Not quite as big as the ones you get at the fair, but they're still kind of fun to eat. Let's see what else we can find in here. You just gently pick up the leaves and see what's in there. So some of them are starting to climb up this A-frame trellis. See these little babies? And some of them like to stay on the ground, so I just let them do that. Here's another one. See how these plants are doing. A little one. They're really cute as they grow. Again, if you can see those teeny tiny ones, and they all start with the flower, then they turn into these little pickles, and you can pick them whichever size you like. It's best to try to catch them before they get a yellow tinge to them, because they can sometimes be bitter at that point in time. See this plant here. I'll let that one get a little bigger. Oh, here's a nice size one. I'm glad I came out and checked the garden today. There are a bunch of pickles that were ready to be harvested. And here's our irrigation system. This has really been a game changer this year for our garden. I'm very glad we decided to do that this year. It's really helped us out, and I think the plants have really liked the consistent watering that they've been getting. Let's see how this plant is here. So these are the cucumbers on the arch trellis. They're kind of climbing up around. See, they have these little hands that grab on. So it's good to have different types of structures in your garden where the plants can grow and expand and climb up. You know, the side of the fence works well for certain varieties. And these arch trellises, as well as this vertical here. If you like some ideas on how to plant the garden and what structures to use, you can check out the How to Plant a Vegetable Garden, and I'll provide in the description box below some of the items that I used and things that I found helpful. So here are the cucumbers. All right, let's go check out the rest of the yard. So here we have a little fun volunteer pumpkin patch, actually. We compost, and so last fall we put a pumpkin in here, and after we turned the compost this spring, we noticed some plants popping up, and as they matured, I said, these really look like some sort of squash or pumpkin, and sure enough, it is a big pumpkin patch, and I had wanted to, and I was thinking about planting pumpkins in the garden, but as you can see, they take up a lot of room. And so I'm actually very grateful and blessed that this occurred in our compost and it's still growing, because now it's not taking up room in the garden. And we have some pumpkins starting. There's one. And let's see. We found at least 3 decent sized ones already. But there were hundreds of flowers, so we'll see how many pumpkins they produce. But that was kind of a fun find. And then here we have some tomato plants too that are growing, and these I think are some sweet 100s. You can see them growing in the clusters. So we'll see if these mature and we can pick them as well. Little added garden space that nature provided. Little volunteer pumpkin patch. So here we are on the other side of the compost, and this is where we have our blackberries. So we have some blackberries starting to ripen, and these kind of go and they grow over our arbor and meet up with some grapes. So here we have some grapes here. And they're all throughout. We have quite a few grapes. I'm hoping we'll be able to do something with them this year too. And our raspberries have already produced this summer, and we've eaten quite a few. And then if you watch the raspberry sweet heat jam video, I said we were going to harvest them, and we harvested, and I was able to freeze I think 5 or 6 quarts of raspberries off of these bushes. And they do tend to produce twice a year. So they do in June until July, and then sometimes we get a second harvest in fall. So hopefully they do that again this year. And here are the Gladiolus that I planted, the bulbs this year. If you watch the spring cleanup and prep videos. So I staggered their planting a week. Each week I'd plant another 10 or so that they will flower at different stages. So they should keep flowering now until late fall, really. But we have some really pretty, this is a nice dark red, purple, and a magenta pink. So these are all multicolored gladiolus. So anything from white, peach, red, orange, yellow, and what you see here. And then a different area of the yard, which I'll go to next, we planted a different variety, and those were quite beautiful this year. I'll definitely plant these again. It's a nice colorful pop to an area that otherwise wouldn't have it. And I've cut some from the other area that I'll go to next. So let's step over there. So here are the other gladiola bulbs that I had planted, and these are called Priscilla gladiolas. And they're on both sides in the center here are some Shasta daisies, and those have bloomed and they're finished for the season. But even when they're finished, it's a nice little green bush. Here are the Priscilla gladiolas. They're very striking. They have a bright magenta, and then they go to a yellow and a white in the petals, and they're really a delicate looking petal. They had a nice pop of color wherever you place them. And then you might notice that towards the bottom, that's where they bloom first, and then they make their way all the way up to the top. So when I cut them and put them in water, I just popped off these little heads that have already flowered, and then the nice, fresh, large flowers are remaining. Okay, let's go check out some other pretty flowers in the yard. And last but not least, here are the Forever Susans that I planted from bulbs this year, and they turned out very pretty. So I'm hoping that these come back year after year, and they look quite nice in this area of the yard with some other orange and yellow lilies that we had. So I was very grateful that these blossomed and seem to be liking where they've been planted. We have 4 different areas where they are, and they've all flowered, so that's great. So, well, I hope you enjoyed this video today on the garden and yard tour. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. See you next time. Take care.